Back in September 2023, I first heard about Abyss Online, an indie-developed PvP sandbox MMO. Like most indie MMOs, there's several dozen in development at present, I added it to a backlog of games that I'd one day check out. Granted, sufficient progress had been made. However, as part of a new What is MMO series I plan on doing, I thought, you know what? Let's go ahead and take a look. What's the worst that we could find? Admittedly, I really shouldn't have asked myself that, because what I ultimately ended up finding was both cause for alarm and simultaneously piqued my interest. Before we discuss Abyss Online, did you know that we have over 50 confirmed MMORPGs releasing over the next few years? And we took the time to manually document every single one of those in a dedicated video that you should check out regardless of your final opinion of Abyss Online. Abyss Online is an indie MMO. Indie MMOs don't have the best track record in the industry. Very few indie MMOs ever fully release, typically running off with money investors and backers put into their game, or running out of money altogether and ceasing operations. While I'm not saying that Abyss Online is going to end up a scam, I will advise players, nevertheless, to do their due diligence and always be cautious when backing or supporting a studio with no history of successful releases. Navigating on over to their website, Abyss Online labels themselves as an expansive online RPG, not an MMORPG. There's no massively multiplayer. There's no multiplayer listed in any capacity. Online RPG describes an RPG world that is persistently online, not accessible offline. However, in October 2023, during Gamescom in Singapore, they listed themselves as being an MMO. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt here and assume that they haven't realized that there is a contrasting difference between an online RPG and an MMO, and I hope that this isn't to mislead potential players. Before we discuss what Abyss Online is and delve further into their history, allow me to take a moment to thank our incredible patrons over on Patreon and allow for me to continue to do dedicated videos like this on MMOs every week. I appreciate it. Now back to the video. The game didn't always go under the Abyss Online moniker. Rather, it was built as metagates.io, meta being an acronym for most effective tactics available. They sold NFTs, they sold founders packs and game items via blockchain, but ultimately they decided that this wasn't the direction that they wanted to take, and they removed any and all crypto elements, citing no real gamers would play any crypto game, which is true. I don't know a single person out there that has ever told me he's STIX. You know what? I would love if Blue Protocol, I would love if Ashes of Creation, the new Riot MMO, the Arcade 2 MMO, or a blockchain title. Not a single person, ever, because they're actual sane human beings. Their implementation, or even thought to introduce any crypto elements, are of immediate cause for alarm to me. Sure, the crypto market has been in a rapid state of decline over the last year. Was that the reason? It's unlikely we'll ever know, and honestly, that is okay. Metagates is no longer a thing. They have since taken core assets and technology from Metagates and replaced it with Abyss, with a stronger focus on gameplay instead of crypto, a good step in the right direction. MMO Bomb actually held an interview with the CEO of the studio developing Abyss Online, Nick Liverman, and they asked him why this information wasn't made public. The answer was concerning. Instead of being transparent and admitting that they had already existed as a game in the past, they chose to hide it. This was, as Nick put it, not his fault. Rather, he trusted the experts that he had paid when they said that they should omit any connections to past crypto scams because for whatever reason, they believed it would be more positively received if someone found it out and spread that information out of context rather than tackling it head on with their own narrative. It is impossible for me to give any input here. Yes, I completely agree. It does sound very shady. I genuinely do not know why anyone would opt to do. Okay, I do, but in the grand scheme of things, hiding things just makes you look guilty, especially when you're inevitably found out, and you always are. They claim that they're not a scam. And honestly, I am moderately inclined to believe them. From what I've seen and what I've read, they do seem passionate about creating something tangible. That's about everything worth noting with regards to their history and the current state of the game. If you're still watching, you're probably wondering what kind of game it actually is then. And if not, then you're probably back in Nikke farming waifus, and I totally get that. I'm grinding the anniversary event myself. Abyss Online is developed by Old World Labs, a studio of 6 programmers working together with their community to build a dynamic, balanced PvPvE system that gets your blood pumping. Their words, not mine. For me, seeing my waifus in Nikke, that gets my blood pumping. I mean, wait, what? It was confirmed that they will not be free to play. Rather, they're opting for a premium buy-to-play business model. I really don't think this is a way to go. I genuinely haven't seen an indie MMO that I think is of a quality that would warrant a premium purchase. Indie game? Yeah, sure. Indie MMO? No. And while Abyss might be the first, you're asking players to take a risk, a gamble, on something that has been proven repeatedly to be a bad decision. Their reasoning for this is that they want to polish their anti-cheat and DDoS systems before exploring with free-to-play months. Otherwise, they'll be overrun with cheaters. Over the last year, we've seen several MMOs release as buy-to-play titles. All of them have a handful of players left and are converting to free-to-play business models because the alternative is announcing an end of service. I'm not a fan of the all switcheroo, releasing as a buy-to-play title then relaunching as a free-to-play title. Bless Online did this, and to this day, players make fun of NeoWiz for it. It feels cheap, but I get it, I do. Studios need a return on their investment, and this is one of the easier ways to go about obtaining that. But it is at the expense of their players. Although, that is just my opinion, because on the other hand, this provides paying players a way to support the devs by purchasing their game. And that's fine, if they know that the game will transition from a premium title to a free-to-play title at some point, but is disingenuous to players that are unaware of that. The devs have plans on holding regular test phases every month. PvP tournaments, dungeon runs, bug hunt events. There's a test client on Steam for interested players, which allows you to see the game in real time before investing any time or money into it. I think this is another step in the right direction, as it is difficult to trust an indie MMO without hands-on experience with the game in question. Questing will be a little bit different to what we're used to in MMOs. It seems as though they've implemented a learning algorithm that will tailor NPCs and their respective personalities, including quests, potentially leading you to entirely new quests that other players don't have, new areas that other players can't access yet. More and more studios are implementing systems like this, and I think it'll make for a highly customizable experience for players, but at the same time, it also leaves the world feeling a little bit disconnected. I think it's a very cool idea, and I genuinely can't wait to see new MMOs implementing it as a feature so MRSSSTIX and I can compare how our worlds differ. It utilizes a hybrid combat system, blending action and targeting together. The game is in alpha testing right now, so admittedly the combat does look a little rough around the edges, but that's subject to change, and judging a game based off of alpha footage is a little bit absurd, given the time between alpha, beta, and launch is potentially years, if not decades, as some indie MMOs have proven. From their pre-alpha trailer released just a few days ago, the game looks very early in the stages of development. It doesn't look bad. It looks like it needs probably a solid few years before it's ready for actual play, but Steam lists that it will be releasing into early access on April 18th, 2024. I do not think the game is even remotely close to being in a ready state, and I really don't believe 4 months is really going to make any semblance of a difference. I'm not the only one with this concern, as others have made their thoughts public on YouTube. Do I think Abyss Online is a scam? No. I think they have genuine ideas, goals, aspirations, but at the same time, I have no real idea what they're doing. Setting unrealistic goals like releasing in April 2024, listening to people when they tell us to hide our past instead of owning up to it, and so much more. Will this game ultimately release, or will they fall victim to the indie MMO curse the genre has become known for? I can't say. I do genuinely wish them all the best though, and hope that this small spotlight either helps them in terms of feedback or redirects additional interest to them as a game. Any and all criticism and praise is equally as valuable in the development of a game your community can enjoy, in my opinion. And they definitely have a long way to go. Now, if Abyss Online isn't an MMO you're particularly interested in, absolutely no problem. I got you covered with 2 different videos on screen right now that might be.